In a world with entirely too many shows about cars, this is another pointless automotive podcast.
Welcome back to another pointless automotive podcast. Chadwick and... Hi. That would be Frank with you again for another riveting, without doubt, episode of our wonderful podcast.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's something.
In society now, we pay a premium to be ad-free.
We do.
Like,
I don't like it though.
I'm not a big advocate.
Do you do like the pay-to-play version of YouTube, or are you the cheap edition like me?
Cheap edition, man.
Yeah, buddy.
You know how I roll. Mm-hmm. I'm a cheap date.
Cheapskate.
But so this episode is going to be called 1 Week of Ad-Full Listening.
Oh, is that what we're calling it?
We're doing nothing but memorable automotive ads, my friend.
Fancy.
So we do, obviously the print ads are pretty popular in this group, of us at least.
Yeah, do you think we're maybe the, by design, the most ad-heavy, automotive podcast there is?
Sorry,
for being not sponsored?
For zero sponsorship money coming in? Absolutely.
Yes.
Our ad to revenue ratio is poor at best.
Hold on, let me enjoy this delicious Modelo Especial.
Oh, cerveza.
See. No, we're not sponsored by that either.
Yeah, also not getting money for that.
Nope.
But
we like ads, I think. At least when it comes to car ads, right?
So, yeah, and I'm going to steer us away from the print ads, which we quiz each other on, quiz all over each other.
That's right.
We'll have one coming up shortly. But we're going to talk about commercials that ran on the television tubes.
Were you anything like me? Did you watch probably an inappropriate amount of television as a child?
Fair amount, yeah.
I definitely did. I mean, I wasn't bedridden and that's all I did. But I definitely
that was my follow-up question. Thanks for clearing that up.
But no, I definitely watched. There's a lot of my
ridden in bed.
My brain space is probably filled up with too many various advertisements from the 80s and 90s growing up.
Yeah, catchy jingles.
Skip it, skip it. You remember Skip It?
Of course, dude.
And the very best thing of there's a ball. Counter on this ball.
These nuts.
You got the little counter. There's just lots of that, but a lot of that was automotive
crossfire
stuff.
You'll get caught in the crossfire. How many BBs were shot in the eyeballs?
They had one of those at my daycare center when I was a child, my little after school ness. And I feel like they would get lost forever. Once a quarter, they would run out.
The best part of Modelo is eating the tinfoil. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's hey, you know what?
Gourmet.
If you go to Salt Bay or one of those celebrity chefs, and you can get the gold leaf covered tomahawk steak for $1,100 or something just obscene, you don't pay nearly the same premium for the little foil. The foil skin, so to speak, on your Modelo.
I was going to ask you to check your tone because I know you got the beer for me, Frank.
Yeah.
But you were like, you know what? That's how you started off that.
You know what, brother?
You could just shove it up your ass.
You know what?
But anyway, car ads.
Yeah, car ads.
So I thought it'd be kind of fun. We did go back and forth about playing the actual ads, which I thought would have been probably a logistics nightmare. And copyright-ridden, lovely music. But I do want to kick this off. I want to kick it back and forth. I think that's always a fun format, where we each bring up a commercial that stayed with us for a good, bad, indifferent reason.
Yeah.
And detail that commercial. So follow along at home. If we miss anything, obviously, let us know.
Yeah, what are some of your favorites?
Favorite advertisements
ads and jingles for cars and stuff from the past. And just real quick, while we're still waxing poetic about the Modelo, I just looked at mine. It says BB, September 2022. Does that mean Best Buy? Does that mean this expired several months ago?
Or is it like wine? It keeps getting better. You have to wait for that date.
Definitely is not like wine. I know that much. But anyway, so
I often heard it's the wine of Mexican beer.
What do you got? What do you got? Just start us off. What ad campaign from yesteryear is stuck in your craw? What can't you shake out of that brain space of yours?
Kicking it off, man. 2012 Buick LaCrosse with Shaq.
I don't think I have any on my list that are that new, but. That was so funny because he's just it's big inside, and he looks like he's the bear driving the Russian bear wearing a fez, driving a little
out the sunroof.
Yep.
But so the commercial's pretty awesome. It shows him coming waddling down these stairs. This is older Shaq, 2012.
Oh, I'm Shaq.
It does not show him shoeboxing himself into this car, but his damn knees, if you look at the image, and I paused it and just was laughing, his knees are more than halfway up the steering wheel to either side. He has the seat reclined all the way back so it's hitting the back seat. And this is an actual sedan, mid-size sedan. And he cannot move his torso. So the whole commercial, he's got this weird, awkward angle where he's looking straight at the camera. Yeah. He's like, oh, plenty of room in here. And it's like the most awkward commercial. I remember seeing this the first time and I was like calling bullshit. I'm like, I want to see this man drive this car right now and not die. No,
that was a good one. I didn't think that one didn't cross my mind.
I'm gonna screen grab that. We'll have some fun with that.
That should be like the main poster shots, just because it's so absurd.
Yeah. So that's what I came up. It's more recent than the cars we usually dwell in, but I just can't get the imagery out of my head. Yeah.
I'm just gonna go pick one that I thought of, and I thought of this unrelated to our discussion the other night. It popped into my head, and I hadn't thought about this campaign in a long time. But they did I don't know, maybe a half dozen in this campaign, and I'm going to go with this one first because it is the newest on my list. So we're going to go, and this would have been for the Honda Element. When the Honda Element came out, they did a whole campaign where the Honda Element was on a beach, and there's this crab. There's a crab that waddles up, and he's like, "I pinch you. I'm a crab, and I pinch you." And he's like, "No pinch," and he's like, the crab just is talking to the Honda Element, wanting to pinch, and he's like, "Please now I pinch you." And the Honda Element's like, "No, don't pinch." He's like, "No pinch." And that's all it is. It's this crab talking to the Honda Element about.
I remember a dog Element commercial where you could get it catered if you have a dog, a little ramp in the back where the dog goes in.
I don't remember that one.
It was because it's all modular, right? You could get your Element arranged a certain way.
I just remember the crab being okay, now I pinch. And being all about
a little creepy.
Little yeah, he's into it. And I feel they did a handful. It wasn't more than just the one. It struck a chord.
Yeah, the Element.
And so they had a number of different crab-based commercials for the Honda.
I would say an Element is a pretty awesome modernish vehicle that I wouldn't mind owning one. Because it seems like a pretty good vehicle. I got a buddy who has one. As long as you keep tweakers from stealing your catalytic converter, you're in pretty good shape. Well, that's in general.
K24, bomb-proof, yeah.
Yeah.
Timing chain,
cool vehicle.
Got to worry about.
Lots of space inside too.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's cool.
What other are we advertising for?
Are we? We're advertising for.
We're through the looking glass here. What else you got on your list? What other memorable ad campaigns?
This one's kind of modern too. 2008 STI, Subaru STI commercial, the hatchback.
Okay.
It's pretty clever. This one was really neat. So it shows this guy pulling up to the side of the road to park his EK Civic, early 2000s, late 90s Civic. Yeah. And every time he parks, a pigeon lands on the hood, and they kind of look at each other, a little challenge, and what's going to happen. So the pigeon takes a big dump. Guy comes out and he looks at the pigeon poop.
Okay.
Eventually, he pulls in with an 08 STI hatchback.
Sure.
The pigeon lands on the hood scoop. Guy revs it, sucks the pigeon.
How do I not remember
into the hood scoop?
That's not how that works, but that's fine.
You're pulling that kind of air at idle with through your intercooler, which doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah, so it pulls the pigeon in, and then it's cool. It cuts away, shows the guy get out. He looks at the car, walks away, and as it's showing all the legal information at the end of the car ad, the feathers start coming out of the exhaust.
You know what they should have done? It should have been the guy that gets out. The guy that gets out should have been Sully Sullenberger, who landed the plane in the Hudson after hitting all those geese. That's what.
Oh my god! But also that a pigeon went through your intercooler and went through your whole turbo system, through your engine, out your exhaust. But
sometimes you have to suspend a little bit of realism for the sake of a good commercial.
Cool commercial. I did a little deep diving too,
boy.
And at the time that STI, and you brought it up on the podcast that was one of the blandest looking STIs. Except the hatch was better looking than the sedan.
Yeah, because those had quad exhaust on those.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool. But it was, I think in the ad it says same power too. So it's because a lot of people considered it softer because they did refine the suspension. It wasn't like a hard edged rally car like the 04 and 05.
Yeah.
04 you could option no radio to make it a legit rally car. But I thought that was so cool, and it was Subaru saying, "Hey, we're still hardcore."
Yeah,
good commercial, very aggressive, pigeon eating.
I'm going over my quick list that I made here, and I don't have any on here that involve the demise of living creatures.
That's a damn
So that
shame.
might be the only one. The closest one I have is, do you remember when they went from the Nissan hardbody trucks and then they had the Frontier, the beginning, the Nissan Frontier in the 90s?
Good truck, yeah.
Do you remember the campaign for that one?
I might reminisce.
It would there were a couple of different ones, but it would always end with the older Japanese gentleman going, "Dogs love trucks," and he had like and there was a whole thing. It was like dogs love trucks, and it was just like there'd be like dogs getting in and out of the truck, or there'd be it would show one of the new like Frontiers in like an all white room that's like surrounded by dogs, and all the tails are wagging, and it was a whole thing. It was the whole dogs love trucks campaign. Was fun. That was a good one.
They had a print ad version of that too. I remember.
They did, yeah. It was a whole. They did a whole thing. I don't know how they long. A couple of years, I think. Oh yeah, that
would be a good one.
That would be a good one. You got to wait a while now. You can't just come in hot with dogs. Love truck. And I don't know. Was there any sort of real significance to the old Japanese gentleman saying that? Was he like some like,
or the fact that dogs love trucks?
Old like family member, like Mr. Dotson himself or something like that? Like I don't
know. That's a good point.
Was he like some pseudo celebrity that I just never picked up on because I was like whatever it was, 13 or something at the time?
Kind of weird, yeah.
A little bit. What else you got on your?
So this one involves a car I own.
Ooh, Eagle Summit.
Eagle Summit wagon commercial.
As everyone remembers.
Yeah. Nissan 300ZX from 1990. The commercial.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go for it.
Is this the G.I. Joe Barbie RC?
The Ken and Barbie.
Yeah, I've got that one on my list too. It's like the also. I figured you would name it, so I have it as like an also honorable mention.
I had to do it. Such a cool ad from a creative standpoint. Just really cool. Like a lot of harkens back to a lot of toys from the period. The fact that not to mention Van Halen blasting in the background.
Sure. So for the uninitiated, what was the concept? How did it go down?
It starts off like a kid's toys are abandoned. This is way pre Toy Story too.
I think it's right. Well, it might be pre Toy Story.
It's definitely pre Toy Story
because Toy Story came out like 95, I think.
So was it that early?
It would have been before that.
No, Pixar was like late 90s at best.
I'm telling you, dog. I'm going to Google while you describe said.
I think Toy Story was later than 98.
I think it's 95, dog.
I'm going to say 98 or later. Anyway, it shows the toys, like one of the action toys, gets in the car. It's a 300ZX. I'm going to say a twin turbo, of course. Little model car.
95, dog.
Okay, so between, you said 94, I said what, 98?
No, I said 95.
Fair enough.
But it would have been before because this was the launch of the this would have predated it either way.
So the toys are animated. He goes, picks up Barbie. At the end of the commercial, Barbie actually takes off and ditches him. Takes the 300ZX. So I thought it was so cool. Just a really, really neat thing because the 300ZX was a big deal too. Japan's first sports car that took a shot at the Corvette and actually kind of kicked its butt a little bit, which was like, and after that we know what happens, right? All the icons come out, the NSX, we got the RX-7 twin turbo, we got the Supra, so it was kind of like go figure Nissan being first to the table to do this.
Well, they always were with the Z. The Z always was kind of like first to market, right?
The Z initially was a sports car. Then it became more Grand Touring.
But even then they beat, because like when that came out, when the 280ZX came out, it was ahead of the Mark 1 and Mark 2 Supras, and then when they were the first to do the turbo thing, right? Because you had the Z71 was 84. The Supra didn't go turbo till 87.
Right.
So they beat them on that, and then the Supra again was 93, and the 300ZX was 90.
Yeah, with Z cars, I say
they were kind of ahead of the curve a little bit.
Yeah, the 240Z was their first sports car, and then their next sports car was the 300ZX. I think the rest were Grand Tours. I really do.
No, they definitely are, but they carried that mantle, right?
Yeah,
like even ahead of.
It was a big shot fired though, and it really did open the floodgates for the Japanese like sports car.
So that commercial, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that a Super Bowl commercial? I feel like that was a Super Bowl.
I believe it was, yeah.
And then B, didn't they also pull it? Then it wasn't like too controversial, and they eventually pulled it.
Really?
I think so. Oh, I don't know, but for some reason that was like
got their Super Bowl.
It was like
spot, right?
Yeah, people kind of clutched their pearls about it.
Good commercial.
So I had that kind of on here as well. I don't have any other. Trying to stick to Nissan stuff if we could. I don't have any other Nissans on here. I do have another one, and they did this campaign for a while. But Pontiac, I don't know. Maybe I know you're Mr. Pontiac at times.
Mr. Pontiac.
So
December.
Exactly. Full spread on this one.
Ooh. Didn't expect the cheeks though.
Hey, well, speaking of which, I was going to go with the Pontiac Grand Prix, the wide. You remember the old wide track one where it's like wider is better.
Oh my gosh!
And there was this whole slew of different commercials. Whatever one is, and I searched very briefly this morning and I couldn't find this exact example, but it was like talking about like in Italian, like when the Italians knew and they were like making the Leaning Tower of Pisa or something. They should have used a wider base because wider is better, and now they've learned. And it was like Penacro e ligre or something like means wider is better in Italian. And they did a whole thing where there was like the pyramids, like the base of the pyramid is wider because wider is better, and like all this whole thing. And I remember one specifically as a kid. It's all for the Grand Prix because it's wide track technology, which is I don't know, it's probably a quarter-inch wider than like a Grand Am or something. But I remember a version where that commercial, that same campaign where it was the Coyote was in a wide track Grand Prix chasing the Roadrunner, and he's like about to get the Roadrunner, and then like it closes in because it's the end or something like that, and he doesn't actually catch him. But like the whole point is like he's driving like a real, it's like the animated cartoon, but driving like a real like photo video spliced in of the Grand Prix driving around. Think like an inverted. Space Jam.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And I remember that one specifically with the old wider is better. It was a whole. I'm sure they did like a dozen of different commercials in that campaign. Does that ring a bell? Do you remember that one?
The wider is better. I kind of remember the Coyote part. I remember the science didn't matter back then. Like you could just say something. The Dodge Intrepid also tried to do the same thing.
But they were the big cab forward, right? Like cab forward.
Cab forward, but they were also like super wide for better handling. Especially the Intrepid. I was like, what?
Yeah. With what's his face did all those old Chrysler and Dodge commercials.
Oh yeah.
What's his face? He was the grandfather on Gilmore Girls. Newman, something like Howard Newman, Edward, not Edward E. Newman.
I still hear the voice for sure.
Edward Herman, I think was his name. Real tall, white dude, real deep voice.
Paging Dr. Herman.
Exactly. Those were fun too. I forgot about those.
That's a real good one. Yeah, Intrepids are fun.
What else you got?
Here's a good one, man. The old Audi Quattro commercial.
Like the Quattro, the OG?
No, this is not that 90s? Old. This is probably early 2000s, maybe into the 05s.
Okay.
Maybe somewhere in there. You got the old salty tow truck driver. He's like talking about it's like snowing, like huge amounts of snow, and he's like, "I've hooked everything. Everything's gotten stuck on these roads." And it's
I do vaguely really remember this one,
dude. It's so good. And he's like, "You name it, I've hooked it." It's like one of the direct lines from that. And then he's like, "Thought I had it in the blizzard of '93."
I do remember this one. Yeah.
So it kind of little harkens back to some of the Quattro history, but it's so great production, and it's all about highlighting that Quattro. All-wheel drive. They can drive in the snow really well. I think that might have been a Super Bowl commercial too, and they played that one a lot. And then the favorite part for me was the one part where he's on the side of the road. He's like hooking another vehicle up or something, and then you see just this flash go by, and he just yells "Quattro!" and it's like it's the best thing, man. I thought that was so cool. He talks about the headlights. It's like you never forget those eyes, and it had like the old pearl LEDs from the early the early
like 2009 or something like that.
Yeah. So just a really cool commercial, man. The production values are so cool because it like flashed to his little cabin. They had like little Polaroid photos of all the cars he's towed out, but no Audis.
So like this great myth.
Yeah, that one always stuck with me. I just love it so much, man.
What's funny is it reminds me of. I remember this commercial as a child, but I probably haven't seen it since I was a young lad. And I almost said lass, but hey, a young lass.
A few surgeries later,
exactly. And still saving for the bottom surgery. But the thing with that is, like, I remember as a child, it was a similar one. They were in snow, and it was touting the advantages of front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive, and it showed Santa. It was like Santa's sleigh, but like the sleigh was ahead of the reindeer, and so the reindeer were trying to push the sleigh, and it was like sliding all over the place. And then it got passed by like a sleigh with the reindeer in front, or maybe it wasn't maybe it was just like an Iditarod team. Maybe it wasn't Santa. Am I getting mixed up? Yeah, I was a child.
It sounded a little Mercedes when you're talking about Santa.
And it would have been like multiple Santas in this scenario. So maybe it's just sled dogs. And so it was like the sled dogs with the sled in the front, and then the sled dogs with the sled in the back. And I don't remember which one it was. Maybe somebody out there is listening and can remember. But the whole thing was like front wheel drive is better in inclement weather, and this is our example. We're showing these like sled teams, and the dogs are in the front, and it was a whole thing. For some reason, I want to say it was like Acura or something, but I don't know.
Kind of makes sense, yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, one I do remember. There's one I actually recall. I'm a bit of a jingle guy. And so this particular vehicle I don't have any special appreciation for, and the artist that did this I don't have any special appreciation for, because I'm not country singer. I'm not country guy. I don't listen to. There's a couple of like quote unquote alt country acts that are okay, but like pop country, it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't wet my whistle. But do you remember the Toby Keith Ford like F-150 commercials?
Yeah, of course.
Those were definitely Super Bowl.
That was Super Bowl.
Where shall I drive? And he's just like playing the guitar, and he's got like an acoustic guitar that has like the Ford logo on it, super big, and there's just like he's sitting there like stuck on the side of the road holding his guitar, and like a Dodge Ram pulls up and he like shakes him off and it drives away. Yep. And then like a Silverado shows up and he's like, "No, man." And then an F-150 comes up and he's like, "Yeah," and he gets in and he's just like still jamming. So absurd. I don't even know when it was, about 09 or something like that.
I think it was a Super Bowl commercial too, that one.
It probably was. And I feel like they did a couple different versions of it. And it's so clearly reactionary to the whole Like a Rock campaign.
Yeah.
From Chevy. Fair. Is that on your list, by the way, Like a Rock, or is it too
is that thought you were going to do it, so I left it off.
I thought you might do it, so I left it off. But and so I went with the "That's all I drive," like the Ford truck man. I'm a Ford truck man. It's just so absurd, but it was like such like a, I don't know, just like almost like a challenge to the Like a Rock campaign, where those commercials would be hilarious, because you'd see like the or you'd see like a Silverado 2500 sitting there, and they would all of a sudden, for some reason, like a skiff loader would dump like 8,000 pounds of like sandbags from like 15 feet into the bed of the truck, and you see the truck like almost get destroyed. But it's like, look how heavy duty this thing is. It's like, A, nobody would do that. B, that truck is demolished now.
Well, that was controversial, right? Because someone changed their bed design to aluminum versus steel.
Sure.
Do you remember that? And it would show like
I'm thinking of the earlier, even earlier than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
there's always that been taking shots at each other. I forgot that one though. That one's so corny. I remember the guitar too.
Oh yeah, dude, it's like this blue oval on it.
Shit ton right now.
You probably got it. I bet you Toby Keith still has that. Yeah.
Some Ford Fanatics garage.
There you go. Or like what is it? Farley, the CEO. He's got it. He's got it now.
He riffs on it every morning.
Exactly, just a huge line of blow off at the can every single morning. How can we cut costs?
All right, buddy, we're going to go to Mitsubishi for this one.
Oh, I have a Mitsubishi on here.
3rd gen Eclipse?
Yeah, buddy.
This one, and this is like, when we thought about playing the Eclipse, I'm like, no, this is copyright for sure. So there's like it's a 3rd gen Eclipse, which is early 2000s, and it's just, no one liked the 3rd gen Eclipse, let's be honest, no matter how many times they're in Fast and Furious. This guy's driving, a woman is dancing in the passenger seat, like she's on Molly.
She's like popping and locking, and she's got like a, I want to say she's got like a beret on or something.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And it's everything wrong with the early 2000s. And the 3rd gen Eclipse is not really a sporty car. Even in GT guys, it was like a 200 horsepower like pedestrian V6.
The hot one is a 200 horsepower
You
V6.
could get a manual, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, they actually drive. I mean, they kind of don't drive okay, but they drive okay. I think they based that on the
worst gen.
I think they just based it on like the rental spec Galant at the time.
Yeah, I think it was
with the same chassis and everything.
Is it? Yeah, I thought it was a little smaller. Anyway,
no, it's smaller, but like it's like cut down.
It's wild. And the commercial was just so annoying, and it was a song that was so popular at the time. I don't know.
It was like that Days Go By song. Yeah, there was that. They did 2 versions, because there was that one, and then there was the other one, like where they're like starting the gas station, and it's like that. Let's go with the commotion.
But this one's so bad, dude. She's like clearly on something. But anyway, the reason to me it stands out is because Dave Chappelle spoofed it.
I have that in my notes too.
The only thing, obviously, a car guy, it screams that he has a 350Z in his, but they didn't have an Eclipse. They had to use an actual rear-wheel drive sports car. But the woman dancing in his, there's like a deleted scene where her boob pops out.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that deleted scene.
So Dave Chappelle makes fun fun of himself a lot, which is like part of the reason I like him so much. It like he pauses on the frame where he's looking at it, and his eyes are bugging out, and he's like clearly like looking at this woman's boob because she was like dancing like a maniac.
Yeah,
and that's like my favorite, like one of my favorite skits he did. But that was it, and it nailed it. It was just like, what the were they thinking? Like, why would I go buy an Eclipse after seeing this woman just losing her shit?
It was super popular, though. Like,
for the wrong reasons.
No, I think people were into it.
Dude, when I saw that commercial the first time, I'm like, I would kick her out.
So two things on that commercial, because I thought about that same thing. So I actually went back and I rewatched it this morning, because that whole campaign popped into my head. So bad. First off, if you pay attention, they dare show like people like in the back seat and like enjoying themselves.
Oh no
way! It's not a complete penalty box to be in there.
Head.
There's just like there's some just random dude in the back just like also dancing, like jamming out. Like what? There's no way. And it's just and they did two. And then I had a note in here too. Yeah, the Chappelle parody. Like at the end of it, he's just like,
good. But the
like,
boob popping out.
He's just like he like kicks her out. He's like, "What the fuck were you doing? Get out of here!"
You gotta watch it. He's like, she's dancing and it's just like flop, and he's like,
that crazy dancing is making my penis soft. But yeah, that was a good one. Another one that I feel like is slightly similar and very much of the same era that I have on my list. Do you remember when the new Beetle came out? They had the UFO.
Oh,
it was like the weird, UFO ad campaign where it was like spinning super fast.
All the Volkswagen ads from that period were super weird.
But the Beetle ones were funny because first you had that and it was like it made this like noise and it would like be spinning around. It was like totally different. It's a UFO, and it was just like
it didn't make any sense. Like I remember seeing.
It was super.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And so they did that whole campaign, which was bizarre, but I still will remember that weird UFO music noise thing that had very similar feel to that Eclipse one. It was just it just screamed 2002, 2003. But then they also had the one with the same where it would be like a weird pseudo-Nazi doctor, but not a Nazi doctor, where he was wearing the white lab coat.
German
engineering, yeah, there was like, but it was the German doctor and all the white in the lab coat.
Can I be honest? Is that the guy from Fargo, the movie, the crazy one?
Ooh, it's been so long since I've seen Fargo.
It might be Mandela effect, but I think it's the doctor, or not the doctor. It's the crazy guy, the guy that like goes crazy in. There's two bad guys, right?
Sure.
Gary or Steve Buscemi, and I forget the other guy's name, but I think it's that guy, dude.
Old Sierra.
I think that's him.
It might be. I don't know. We'll have to go back and
German engineering, yo. Remember that?
Right, but there would be the turbonium. Remember turbonium? It was like the element that they added to the regular Beetle. We added turbonium, and then it was
far from puking.
That's right. But yeah, but that whole what a weird era. It was just like different for the sake of being different. Which I guess was kind of the whole point of the whole selling point of that new Beetle, right? It's like
I think so, yeah.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, that's Volkswagen. Glad they got their stuff together for Dieselgate.
Right.
Too soon. I think you're gonna get this one too. Cadillac Catera, 1996.
Oh, I don't have it on my list, but yeah.
So we had Cindy Crawford.
Was it Cindy? I always mix her up in Kathy Ireland.
Nope, Cindy Crawford in these ones. Doesn't have a spoken line. Just kind of there, little eye candy, and a poorly animated bird named Ziggy.
It was Ziggy
because it's the Cadillac that zigs.
That's right.
No matter what they did, horrible ad anyway. That car was horrible.
It's an Opel Omega, is it?
Yes, German built.
The Germans.
It looked exactly like a Malibu, like just slightly proportion changed Malibu.
I think it looks a fair bit different than a Malibu.
Not enough for the price. And for a Cadillac badge, name another Cadillac at that period that you could option cloth seats for.
Could you can you get cloth on those?
Catera, you can get cloth.
I think you can. I think on I think the early ES, like ES 300s, you can get cloth on Lexus.
Cadillac, my friend.
I know. It's Cadillac of automobile. Yeah, but this is a Caddy that zigs.
Lexus is the Cadillac of Toyota.
It is. It's the Caddy that zigs. Okay. You can get cloth with your Ziggy.
Stardust. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it had cloth seats. Like I looked it up and actually confirmed that you could get cloth.
Okay.
Horrible commercial. The bird was super annoying. It didn't make any sense. Like the juxtaposition of Cindy Crawford coming out of a mansion, I think, then getting into Catera. And there's a damn bird running around inside the cabin.
What would you rather have follow you as your own personal assistant from here until the end of days, would it be Ziggy, the animated bird, or would it be Clippy from like Microsoft Word 2000?
Did you mean to spell it this way? Did you mean to send an attachment with that?
Exactly.
Zippy's more useful.
What, Clippy?
Or Clippy, yeah. Versus Ziggy.
Probably. But I feel like Ziggy at least would always, it would be like fluttering around you, but like wouldn't say anything.
He didn't do shit.
Versus, I know, but that might be a good thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
Because Clippy always like...
I was going to be like the Crow from the Crow movies.
Did you mean to wipe only twice? And you're like, oh man. Like, I don't know. I feel like Clippy would that would get old.
Yeah, but let me get that for you, master.
Exactly. You just enslave this animated paperclip.
Get in there, boy. Get really in there.
Ow! Too much, Clippy. Wow. How did we get here? Oh yeah, the Cadillac that zigs.
Yeah. So like horrible commercials, horrible car.
Yeah, they didn't.
I think
they could have been.
Cool. The first gen's kind of cool.
I still think it's an LS swap away from being kind of the dopest sleeper imaginable.
Everybody says it. That could be anything though.
Could be, but I think it'll. I don't know. I don't know enough about those cars to know that it will or won't bolt up, but it'd be fun. You can do it. Let's do it. We'll do it live.
You can do anything you want. It's America, goddammit.
Speaking of the kind of cutesy stuff of that era.
Oh yeah.
Dodge Neon. Hi.
Yes.
That was just a good campaign. It
showed up. Campaign.
It fit the car. It fit the personification of the front end of that car. Like it just, if it was going to say anything, it would say hi.
Aww.
Not anymore though, because none of them exist anymore. I mean, except for the one that you have.
Yeah,
but yours is an ACR, so it's a slightly aggressive
neon.
So
definitely the best.
It is, and it made it to 05.
Yeah.
Because then you had the Caliber, which was a pile of garbage, and then you had the Dart, which was full of Fiat parts, and they performed really appropriately. But yeah, good car, good campaign, simple, straightforward. Yeah.
But it was a damn good car too. So like, I think that works. I think if you have a simple ad campaign,
had head gasket issues, I think, but
did they? Not too bad.
And the transmissions were relatively Chrysler-y if it was an automatic.
I think the price point and the
good,
quality
good for the
of what
price
you got,
point,
cool looking car too, kind of neat looking. I think that was the combination of those things made it like a successful car.
I'd rather have an early Neon than a Cavalier or an Escort.
100%. Yeah. It really was created like benchmarked against like Honda Civics and Nissans, Sentras and stuff of that nature, and they actually kind of stepped up to the plate and did it. So
they did it. We did it. But you got anything else on your list over there?
Nothing burning. Like Clippy wiping my butt.
That's right.
I think that's all I got, man.
I got a couple more. I'll throw.
Want to scream a couple out?
We
can get quizzical.
We can. So some of the early Lexus commercials were fabulous. With the two specifically, the two famous ones, which is the one where you had like it was an LS 400 on a spit. It's like on a turret, and it would spin around, and you'd have the ball bearing would be rolling around on all of the panel gaps to show like look how tight our tolerances are, and they're even, and it doesn't da 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 da. There's that, and then the one with it sitting on the dyno, with the hood up and like basically champagne flutes in a tower sitting on top of the motor. And
while it's running.
While it's driving, I think it's supposed to be going like 100 miles an hour or something like that. The wheels on the dyno, and it's sitting there standing, and it's just like, look how smooth it is. And that's like gimmicky, but it's kind of true. Like that was a smooth ass car, smooth ass motor.
They lost money in those LS400s, and to establish their place in the market.
Yeah, and that's it. They lost the money then, but they've more than made up for it by now because it paid off doing all that early R&D and really doing that, and they paid for it in those commercials. Those were like, wow,
groovy
that's
commercial.
Cool.
Yeah.
Other one real quick. The Chrysler Cordoba in a rich Corinthian leather with Ricardo Montalban in the 70s. I always thought those cars would be cool because it's a Chrysler B body, so like it's not difficult to just put like big like early pre-smog big block parts in it, and like you can make one of those into some rowdy rich Corinthian leather clad sleeper, which I think would be dope.
That would be sweet. Yeah.
And then the only other one I wanted to two. One, when you were talking, I thought about it when you mentioned it earlier with the production value is the BMW films. from the late 90s, early 2000s. Okay. Where you had like Clive Owen.
Very cinematic.
Yes. Yeah, just like E39 M5 like chase scenes and stuff.
Over the top.
Where it was like they
awesome.
were films. It was like they kind of ushered in a whole era of, there's all kinds of that stuff on now, especially like in the YouTube era where you have all of these manufacturers making their own little like movettes, like short films.
Yeah. Tickers and talkers.
And then the one that none of us have seen it in the wild. You're only going to see it if it's on YouTube, which you can look them up. In the 90s, when they launched the ST, 180 series Celica, they had on the Japanese market they had Eddie Murphy make all of these commercials. I'll have to play them for you. Maybe I don't know if we can do the insert thing. I think you can. There's no like proprietary music in it.
Yeah, we'll just have to cite whoever has it.
Yeah. There's a whole. He did a round of like Eddie Murphy, like the new Celica, and he's like throwing in random Japanese words, and he like looks at the camera like Suki, new Celica, and he like winks at the camera, and it's so ridiculous. He was like petting the car, and it's so handsome, and it's fantastic. If you're listening out there, just search up Eddie Murphy Celica ad, and there's like 5 of them that they did in the 90s, and they're so over the top.
It's freaking hilarious.
I highly recommend you carve time out of your day to watch Eddie Murphy talk about the Celica for the Japanese market.
Or any of these videos. Go back and revisit some of these gems, because they really are great. Like some of these, especially the ones that we could just recall off memory.
I'm a four-truck man. It's a
Please watch that one.
Or at least listen to it on loop.
Quattro!
Yeah, that was a good one. And it's like, you mentioned it real quick too, was the Santa Claus, all the Christmas ones from Mercedes-Benz
so many
forever.
Christmas ones, yeah.
Yeah, they did it better than the is it A December to Remember? Was that like the Lexus
one?
Yeah,
with the bow tie on the Lexus.
That was like kind of cheesy. I think Benz does a better job there.
Agreed. Now you got Johnny Ham doing that.
Yeah. Speaking of going ham, I'm geared up. You want to tell the people what we're about to do here real quick with our quiz game?
Absolutely. Let me introduce the masses to this game. So we do a little thing around these parts. Playing my Ford guitar on the side of the road.
Guitar.
So we do an automotive print ad quiz game show where we read print ads from periodicals, magazines from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, all fair game. We probably should define early 2000s. I'm thinking 2005 or earlier.
Yeah,
probably
seems
works.
about right.
Yeah. We have to read the ad, omitting all the stuff that's going to clearly give it away. Frank's going to be reading this time. I have 3 guesses to guess what vehicle he's talking about, make and model. If I miss, I can ask for help.
You may.
Or he can supply a hint to lead me in the right direction. 3 guesses again, and 10 minutes on the clock. I can start the clock as soon as you finish the ad.
I can do
and that's pretty much the game, folks. Play along at home and shake your head how we didn't guess this obvious car.
Okay, so this one is a 2-pager.
Okay.
I picked this one because we were talking about memorable advertisements. And I feel like this one was a memorable advertisement. I actually sought this one out. I didn't stumble onto this one organically. I was like, I remember that ad as a child.
Okay.
And so I went and I dug it up and I found it.
Nice.
Much like all of the other television ads and stuff that we had talked about before. So I want to stick with the theme here.
Yeah.
And the top half is text. The bottom half is just a slew of components. And they're all arranged kind of where they would be in the vehicle.
Okay.
And it says, what it takes to turbocharge a blank, including the turbocharger. The theory that a whole is greater than the sum of its parts did not originate with blank. But we wholeheartedly subscribe.
Butthole. That's a Freudian.
For one, wholeheartedly subscribes to it. Because if we've learned anything in our 4 decades of building cars, it's that a change in one component can profoundly affect the performance of the others, and ultimately the performance of the whole car. Now I can't read all of a sudden. Nowhere is this truth more evident than in the area of turbocharging.
Yes.
Blank pioneered this technology for production cars back in 1975 and realized right from the start that simply bolting on a turbocharger, tweaking the engine a little, and renaming the car was the wrong way to go about it. The right way is revealed below. Every component shown here was deemed necessary to transform a normally aspirated blank into a turbocharged blank. Major engine components, more than 30 in all, to compensate for increased internal loads and heat. Chassis components, from shock absorbers and brakes to wheels and tires to meet high performance demands. Front and rear body components to improve wind resistance at higher speeds while controlling lift and drag. To say nothing of the turbocharger itself, which, among other innovative bits of technology, includes 2 water cooling systems to protect the turbine bearings, even after the engine is turned off. Of course, if we hadn't gone to such lengths with the blank, we could have still built a turbo. We just could not have built a blank. Chadwick.
Jeez, man. So 0 door count, 0 drive tire, 0 anything. It's got a turbo.
I feel like this is kind of. I feel like you've seen this ad before. That's
Really?
how sort of iconic it is. It's not quite. It's not like quite homie jumping over the 911 like on skis.
No, that's
or
very
that
iconic.
or kills bugs fast. It's not that level of iconic, but it's damn near.
Dude, so turbo.
Turbocharged.
They have a variant that's not turbocharged, but
Variant that's not turbocharged. And when they turbocharged it, they made a whole bunch of other changes, including front and rear body components, suspension, wheels, brakes.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Boy,
Pioneered this technology for production cars back in 1975.
who was the first turbocharged maker? That's a good question. I should know. I kind of feel like it was a domestic car company.
Well, this is saying 1975.
Who? What?
This uses the date 1975.
Okay, weird.
Because if you're thinking either the Corvair or the turbo rocket fluid,
Predates 75.
Yeah, like the F-85, the Jetfire, the old Jetfire. We're not counting those according to this ad. Those cars never existed.
Fair enough.
In production.
Okay.
In production. Yeah.
Good. So that's a little confusing. And then I thought of Saab, because Saab was an early adapter
Sure.
to turbo technology, but it doesn't really read like a Saab ad. And yeah, they didn't change a car up when they added a turbo. You could get a small T, little T, big T,
Several T's.
whatever T's you want.
Right. You're such a tease.
Dude, this is. It just doesn't sound. And then I think maybe it's Mitsubishi because they're big on turbos. Let me start the timer at 9.5. And then I'm like, nah, it doesn't make sense because they didn't. The 3000 GT VR4 didn't change.
What's funny is all the components at the bottom, they even have, like sitting on the ground at the back of the car is the turbo nameplate that they would have added to it, just like sitting on the
So
floor
it's just
right there.
pieces in the ad.
Yeah, literally just pure components, all laid out just like it would be on the car.
God, it's so. My first thought
For the most part.
it went to Porsche because the 911 they could have. The turbo 911 is very different from the regular 911.
Sure.
But they wouldn't have mentioned. They didn't mention all-wheel drive, did they?
They did not mention all-wheel drive. They didn't mention any wheel
Well,
drive.
When did they start making all the turbos all-wheel drive? Kind of fun bit of trivia there, actually. I should know that.
Is it 96? No, I don't think it's 964.
I don't know, honestly.
It's
That's an
964 or
honest question.
996.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I want to say 911, but then I don't think it's that. I think because Porsche did do turboing pretty early. This reads like a Porsche ad to me, kind of. Boy, and I don't. 924 is a little on the nose. Maybe I'll just take a blind stab. 944 turbo would be my answer.
What it takes to turbocharge a Porsche, including the turbocharger. It is the Porsche 924.
Get out of
You
here!
got it. You got it, my dude. Do you remember this ad?
No.
Oh boy, I feel like this is like an iconic ad showing like, hey, this is everything that we changed to when we turbocharged. Like,
I'm sorry, I said it was not a 924 because you wouldn't have put yours on the nose.
Correct.
Like that.
Yeah.
But I remember an ad like this where it was a car model kit, and they had, you know how the models are on the little punch-out plastic.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I was
yeah.
picturing.
Oh, you know what? I have seen that one.
Do you know what I'm
talking about? I have seen that one too. Yeah.
And is that a Porsche ad too?
I think so. I don't remember if it was like turbocharged specific, but this is saying like, hey, look, this is all the stuff that we. You got it, man. That was a tough one.
It just read like a Porsche ad.
It does. I did have to say where it says like, Professor Porsche. I couldn't say Professor Blank. That would have given it away.
That's fair.
Or I said, but for one, wholeheartedly subscribed. So I had to like,
what a great ad, dude.
Yeah, like pretty iconic ad. I thought it kind of fit thematically, and while there wasn't a lot to go on, like if you'd either seen this ad or be like, well, they changed all the because the whole front end on the turbo cars are different. You know, and you said it reads like a turbo car.
It sounds like a Porsche turbo.
And the whole like turbocharged 1975 with the 930. That's kind of, you know, can you sit there and argue about like, well, you know, the earlier stuff was turbocharged. I think it's an argument worth having, but I do think that for many people, like they view like the 930 as being like the production turbocharged performance car.
And the 944 turbos look a bit different than the 944, which is cool because
exactly. You got
they had to allow the
airflow
end for the intercooler. The rear had a different diffuser down low, I think.
It's a much nicer looking front end.
Super cool looking car.
Yeah. Far different than the 924 and stuff. So, job well done. Your Hail Mary, your first down Hail Mary.
I mean, zero detail. I mean, the last week's Miata one, I thought I wasn't giving you like a displacement or anything. Was like we're going nondescript ads now. We're getting pro level here.
Guess who nailed it either way? Yeah, this one was just the meat and potatoes of the ad itself. I kind of had to with the theme of this week.
Great ad, dude.
I kind of had to run with it. Well, job well done, sir.
Thanks, man.
How would you care to celebrate? What would you like to do? What would you like to potentially abuse?
Project Car Progress. And I just got an update on my phone.
Oh, what's it say?
Topical. I just received 4 Advan tires for a 2005 Mini Cooper S.
Oh, hey!
I don't have one of those, do I, Frank?
Wait.
So
there's more.
Just recently, I purchased a 2005 Mini Cooper S.
Hey!
In British Racing Green, 6-speed manual, slick
DCG.
top, 16-inch wheels.
Yeah.
I love these cars.
They're fun.
They're so fun.
They're fun.
It's low mileage, 86K, and probably the lowest. I think that's very low for 2005. I've always loved, so I had a R56. I had the turbo in 09.
Good cars too.
I bought that when I was like 2 years old. I was the second owner.
Yeah.
It was a good car, except it had the direct injection issue with the carbon buildup on the intake manifold. This doesn't have that problem. It is like 20-something horsepower shy, but you can't tell. It feels quick. The supercharger screams. It's always on boost. I've just always been a big fan of these things. The handling is out of this world, but plans for the car. I do want to do some mods to it. Well, first I got to do a lot of maintenance. New Bilstein shocks in there, new tires, new brakes, all the usual stuff that I do with a car. And then I'm thinking about underdrive, smaller size pulley for the
I just love the
supercharger. Yeah, the smaller pulley makes it whine a little more. Open the intake to even make more whine. Exhaust.
Fine whine.
And be like just under 200 horsepower in a little Mini Cooper S. Yeah, dude.
Heck
that's the plan. British Racing Green, you can't go wrong. It's probably one of the better Mini colors for those R53s. I just like it.
Yeah, I mean you can't argue. You know, it's
British.
Exactly.
You're
preaching to the choir here, right? I'm Mr. Green Car Guy.
Yeah, so
that's my huckleberry.
It works, and we'll see. I think this would be a fun daily for a little while.
Yeah. So what's your plans for the Lex Ass then?
So I don't know. I might let that thing go out to pasture, let someone else enjoy it, because I don't have a big grindy commute anymore.
Sure.
So it's kind of waste. I mean, I put a lot of mileage. I've had it 4 years now, so
okay.
I've done my time. I absolutely love that car still. I just don't have the purpose to hold on to a daily grind car right now. And the Mini Cooper still will get like 30 miles per gallon.
If you keep your foot out of it.
Well, that's the big thing, right? Not an option with a Lexus. You never put your foot in it.
Nope.
But that's pretty much it. Just buying more cars, and I got some fresh tires waiting for me at home.
There you go. The Advan pile.
Oh,
assuming somebody, I had once. I got a tire rack order and I had someone poach them off my porch once. Thankfully, Tire Rack, again, people we're not sponsored by, but shout out to them for they stepped up and they just mailed me a second set.
Oh, that's cool.
No questions asked, which is super sick.
Very cool. Yeah, I deal with them a lot. You really can't beat the prices and good selection. You just and when they have deals, it's a steal. So
that's right. Or in my case, literally, it was a steal.
Literally, someone got a real steal.
Somebody,
God, I hope
Wheels
they don't fit. I hope they were the wrong size.
I hope they install them inside out or something.
How about you, man? What did you do for Project Car Progress this week?
Boy, not a whole lot. I've been busy. I went and saw Went and saw my grandma. I hadn't seen her in a long time. Good old Scranton, PA.
Okay, yeah.
I did get to see my Uncle Bob. Everyone has an Uncle Bob. But
sure.
my Uncle Bob, he picked up a I think it was a 76 Mercury Grand Marquis.
Ooh.
One owner. It's got like 30,000 original miles. It's dark green over dark green.
Boaty boat?
Oh, the
boatiest of boaty boats?
Yeah. 400 cubic inch V8.
Oh.
Underpowered.
Sure.
But yeah, so I got to play some car stuff, but then I've gotten back. I still haven't had an opportunity to take care of the exhaust on the 924, but that should be pretty simple.
How about the Galant VR4? Did you fix that?
I have not fixed it, but I did get the gasket for it, so I have the gasket. It's been raining here today, and yesterday, so I might have an opportunity sometime this week, hopefully, to nail down. I'm running out of hours in my days, preaching
to the choir, my man.
And here's the thing: is podcasting here takes precedent over everything else. So this is job one,
number one.
So I got a back burner at everything else, my life, my family, for this.
Live and die by this podcast,
and that's it. And so it seems to be that people are actually occasionally listening to us.
What?
So for that. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to do this again next week, so tune in then.
Back again.
I know, whether you like it or not. Thanks again for doing it again. This week, you can follow us at APA Podcast on the very rarely updated Instagram. Same with on the YouTube. So if you're not tubing, you should totally tube it up. Yeah. Frank, that's going to be all my nonsense is taking place. That's at the Photographer's Garage. At all the places. Chadwick, how about you?
Auto Obsessive Garage. Check me out on the tubes. Rescue Restorations. Instagram. Same kind of BS postings. Mm-hmm. But again, wherever you guys listen to this podcast, go ahead and rate and review. It helps us out a lot.
Definitely.
Give us some delicious feedback.
Mm-hmm. The tastiest.
And thanks again for spending the time with us. We do appreciate it.
We actually do. So thanks.
All right, guys. As always, take care.
Until next time.